Alright guys, welcome. I'm making this to share some of the things which you should avoid, stay away from to see success at dropshipping, okay? And it's actually a bunch of lessons which I had to go through the hard way over the years, which I'm compiling into this video. So whether you're a beginner all the way till advanced, something here is going to be important because I'm going to link the mindset to finding the right product, to scaling the product and so on. So the first thing, again, we are putting avoid these, okay? At all cost. So number one on the list is going to be emotion. Being emotional is probably the number one pattern which I see most beginners have. And here's the catch: you would even experience this the more you experience success. So the higher you climb that ladder of success, the more emotion is going to be in the way. I'll give you a quick example. So at the start, whether it was pumping and dumping products, it's going to be a roller coaster of emotion until you find your winner, right? The moment you find your winner, you may think that, okay, now it's easy mode. But then, to your surprise, you're going to experience new levels where you need to persevere to actually reach the next levels, okay? So getting your first sale is going to feel really good. But then the next day, you'd get 0 sales, you're going to feel crushed. So the very same feeling that you may experience on day one, getting the first sale, is the exact same feeling you're going to witness once you make 1k or 10k plus days. So that's a problem, obviously, because even the bigger accomplishments, so whether it was 100k a month, at that point you really need some self control to not feel crippled after that. Because imagine you get 100k a month and then the next month you make 10k, which is, to other people, it may seem like a lot, 10k, right? But the fact you accomplish the 100k month is going to make you feel so, again, crippled is the best way to describe it, because you wouldn't feel like you could move. You cannot perform the same way you were at 100k. Unless you have these mental mind frames to just perform regardless of the numbers, okay? So in my opinion, it's different from being stoic, because being stoic is to not be moved by things around you. The way I would like to look at this is, it's more than just being stoic, because you want to actually be delusional, right? You're having a bad day, but then still you're performing as if it was your best day, okay? So it's really important to have these good days, by the way, like getting your first sale, whatever achievement it was. Keep that memory, because by default, the amount of inputs that you had put to achieve that, whatever achievement that was, there must have been a reason for you to get that 10k day, right? So, or 1k day or whatever. These inputs are what you need to remember. So on your bad days, try to remember, what did I do back then when I got my first sale or my first $100 or whatever. Oftentimes when you do this pattern of thinking, reverse engineering what made you get these numbers, you're going to find that you're going to see that you're comparing those good days with your bad day. So back then I was posting 10 times a day. Nowadays I'm posting 1 to 2 times a day. Therefore, I'm not getting any sales. So this instantly will make you realize that now I have to do something about it, right? So that's what I mean by having these cards of memories, which you could just pull out at any moment to just motivate yourself to put in more effort, okay? So it was more than one point here. It was more about emotion. Emotion is bad, obviously. And number 2 is being not consistent. So consistency is really important. And honestly, the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. So whether you're posting literally one time a day is like one lottery ticket a day. It's very bad. You need to be posting minimum 2 to 3 times a day, but then it can go up to 10 plus times a day, depending on the product and the platform. So Meta allows you to post 10 plus times a day, but TikTok, YouTube, and so on, 2 to 3 is perfect. So, and obviously it depends on the format. So some formats are harder to film and they're just considered higher quality. So right now with my product, in comparison to Christmas time, I was posting 10 plus times a day, or I would say 7 to 10. But then now I post 3 times a day. primarily because I changed the format. So now I'm working on quality over quantity, and to my surprise, the outcome is very similar to back then. So there's obviously like factors which changes the the metrics of what consistency means. So whether that was 2 to 3 times a day or 10 times a day, it depends on the product, right? So just post is the short answer. Make sure you're posting every single time, every single day. Next thing is not having a winner or not having something to work on. Okay? So having a product, at least one product that you're just posting on every day is better than nothing. And this is really important to understand because you're gonna find yourself at one point when you're looking for your first winner stuck. Okay? This is very common. Everyone goes through this phase where we just test a lot of products and at one point we just go months without having a product that we record and post. So you're always better off having something to work on. Okay? So how do I put this? Things to avoid. Not having tasks. I'm gonna put it this way. So having something to do is better than nothing. Okay? And it could be one of your older products. Trust me, there's a lot of products nowadays which are very similar. Okay? Or even the same product. Like this camera, you may have it from last year that you put it on your chest. If you still have this, okay, and you're still looking for like a new product, you're better off running this while searching for new products, just because you could actually just take this to a new market, which I'm gonna talk about in a bit. You could take an old product or old concept and then introduce it to a new market. This is an advanced strategy, and this is actually one of the best ways to go over 10K a month, okay? So if you have these products which has the capacity to be marketed in different niches, okay? So obviously you don't want to be running any product which you find in your closet. No, something that as good as this, the camera which can be marketed in every niche pretty much. At that moment, I would strongly recommend that you run these sort of products. Same thing applies to the projector. So this thing also can be marketed to any niche you want, whether it's gaming, whether it's Netflix, whatever. These products will always be winners, especially if you can introduce it to a new market or new niche, okay? So market by like US, Australia, and so on, or, for the gaming niche versus other niches. So having something is better than nothing because you're going to sharpen your skills. You're going to be on top of the trends. Obviously, you need to find new formats to market the product and just movements, hand movements, like overall skills. Really important. Number 4. This is going to be very raw. So I'm going to come up with the lessons on the spot. One thing which I see, because also I have trained some IRLs to know how to dropship. So I was able to see a lot of patterns which you shouldn't be doing, okay? Lazy. You don't want to be lazy. And I'll explain. This may sound very simple. At one point, okay, and if we're humble enough, we're all going to admit this. At one point, once we have created so much content, we're going to reach a point where we just would rather duplicate our content, so split test, and just change the text, change the hook, basic stuff, and then post, rather than creating new content. And I would say, I'm going to have to highlight this, because this is probably the biggest ticket to getting stuck, like not going further in your journey. So the moment you become lazy, you stop creating new content, is the moment where you start limiting yourself, okay? Because not only will the platforms like TikTok will stop promoting you further, okay? It's proven by now that original content every single day is far better than split testing, okay? The only platform which I would split test on is Meta, Facebook and IG. So being lazy, although it might not appear like a disadvantage at the start, is just reprogramming your mind to stop practicing your skills, so creating daily content. And by the way, daily content means you're always going to be looking for new content ideas, okay? So you're always going to be open to new formats that you could test. The moment you start repeating the same format over and over again, and even worse, the same clips over and over again by being lazy, is a moment where you will just literally get like put a wall in front of you and cannot go further in your journey. So I've fallen into this trap multiple times in the past. So nowadays, every single time I have to create new content. Okay, there's a few scenarios or few exceptions where I would reuse the same content. Okay, so being lazy is probably the biggest trap you should avoid. All right, next point. Since we have already spoken about being consistent and not creating daily content, which is probably one of the most important things, next one is, I need to mention it here, not testing new formats. One thing which you're gonna realize, whether it was organic or paid ads, is that even with paid ads, by the way, especially, they are always running different creatives, so different ideas. They wouldn't just recycle the same idea over and over again. And they're doing it for a reason, right? In fact, they're paying to run these ads. So they wouldn't do that if it wasn't the best move, right? So we are doing it for free. We're doing organic marketing. Why not take the same lessons they're, or the same concepts they're laying for us, right? And do it for free, okay? So it's really important to think about it this way. Every post you're doing is a lottery ticket or cards. They're all cards, okay? The formats are cards that you can select and play every single day. So if you're posting the same format every single day, that means you're putting all of your chances for this lottery into this one card because you're just recycling it over and over again. So the chances to win are going to be way less than just testing all the different 5 cards. And this is very important to understand. How do you find these cards? You need to do daily market research. So they don't do daily research. This is another point. You need to do at least 30 minutes per day where you just scroll, but constructively. You don't just doom scroll, okay? It's different. You're doing this primarily to see what new ideas or new products are there in the space. And I've spoken about this in the past, how important this is, especially when you're running a product in a different niche. At one point, if you have, like, especially not many competitors, you're gonna feel like you're the only one in the space. You're gonna put this bubble around you that you're only working on yourself and then looking at your 1 or 2 competitors. That's very bad. You're better off widening your perspective, looking at the entire space, and just being perspicacious, right? Like looking at all directions to see what's going on around you. So this way you could collect new cards, okay? New ideas, and maybe find new opportunities, new products to run on the side. So these 2 points are very interlinked and very important. So daily research helps you to find new formats, new audio ideas, product ideas, and so on. Next point, you need to try new things, okay? New niches. Because one thing I wish I did, actually, because I found my winner like a year plus ago, and I really wish I tried more niches. Primarily because it's more fun, and then number 2 is you would learn more. So I highly recommend, even if it was like a sub product, so something very simple, you could just pour like half an hour or 1 hour a day for that product, better than nothing, because learning, like widening your skills into different niches is really, really good. And then you may not know this, but then maybe you're actually really good at a specific niche, but you're not aware of that yet. So try different things, even if you think you have a winner, okay? Whatever number you're making, whether it's like 50K a month, 100K a month, still better to find a new product just to like run on the side, you know, to feel like you're doing new things over and over again, which feels exciting. So new niches, they don't try that. This is a lesson I had to learn recently. Now I'm running new products, new niches. Let's see. Untapped products. Maybe I should have started with this. Unfortunately, a lot of gurus until this day, would tell you that you need to run an untapped product. And by the way, this is very fancy. It's such a nice idea to the mind that you are the first person running a certain thing. But the reality is, 9 out of 10 times, unless you're like an advanced person, it's not going to be worth it because you're going to be competing with yourself. Like, you have nobody else doing this. So instead of doing untapped products, you're better off doing untapped angles. Okay? And here's the biggest difference between those two. When you're running a new product, never seen before, it's going to be harder to understand or visualize how to market this new product. But then if you take a currently trending product, which is being saturated in a specific market, specific niche, and then you take it and then you market it in a different angle for a different audience. And then you could literally see what other people are doing in that specific audience, in that specific niche. I'll give you a quick example. Since we spoke about the camera for the chest, everyone's doing it for car niche, right? So instead of going right, you go left and you market it for something else, like for skiing, for example. Okay? And then, if you're lacking ideas, you literally just search up for anyone who's creating content for skiing, and whether they're organic dropshippers or not, you're gonna take ideas. Okay? There's a lot of creators, like genuinely, they're not trying to sell you anything that you could be inspired from to create trendy formats. And this is actually one thing which advanced people do. They wouldn't just search for dropshippers doing certain things. They would look for people who are just creating viral content and take ideas from. So I highly recommend you do that too. And this is how you introduce an old product to a new market. So instead of doing untapped products, which is going to waste you months, and this is what I did 2 years ago. I tried to do something similar, and I had to like order different prototypes, which took me like 2 months of like ordering and then not liking the prototype. Nightmare. So don't do that, do this, okay? Unless you're like an exception where you have a lot of experience, you have a team, and you have a vision to make it work, then perhaps you can try. But for the most part, it's better off to do this, okay? All right, number 9 is going to be a bit different. It's going to be about investing. So you need to constantly be spending on whatever is going to benefit your business. So whether that was better environment, better lighting, equipment, more phones, name it. Anything that will benefit your content creation or just your outcome, you need to do that, and ASAP. And here's why this is really important, because the harsh reality of growth in general is that you're always going up or down. There's rarely a scenario where you're just equilibrium, okay? Because this equilibrium is in fact an array of ups and downs, which averages an equilibrium. But the reality is you're always going either up or down. You're going to have good days, bad days, which creates this line. So the best way to constantly be going up is to be doubling down on what works. So if some like prop worked in the past, get more props, maybe better ones. Or, you know, if you feel like you need more output, get more phones, maybe get a team. Get like reinvest into something that's gonna make you make more money. In short, maybe do paid ads as well. So that's one thing which I had to learn the hard way, and this is very linked to scaling. So you're better off reinvesting your money while you're going up before you fall. All right, and the final thing which you should not be doing is to fear, because this is probably the biggest obstacle, which again comes at every phase, but primarily it comes internally. So every single time you feel this sense of fear, you're better off just taking more actions rather than slowing down, because the objective of fear is to slow you down. It's an obstacle. So that's why actually people say you're better off underthinking rather than overthinking, because when you don't think much, you just do, versus someone who just plans for the perfect plan and then they end up thinking too much and then either like quitting or slowing down what needs to be done in an hour, they would take a week. So this is, again, one of the fundamentals of what not to do or not to think about on your way to success. This comes in different forms, obviously, but the way I solve this is I just try to clear up my mind, okay, get a better environment, sometimes you just get contained inside your bubble. So you could literally go out to the garden, go for a walk, go to the gym, and then come back home. You're gonna realize that you could take better decisions and then faster decisions. That's why, by the way, a lot of successful people, they like to hit the gym at the start of the day because they overcome this mental uh, obstacle of laziness and then also fear. So they hit the gym first, and then whatever else they would encounter throughout the day, especially, I would say, especially after the gym. So if you have any hard tasks, keep them till after the gym because you're gonna belittle these obstacles. Trust me. Or other tip I would say about fear. So if you have like a certain task you really don't want to do, the best time to do it is when you wake up. It might just be me, but I feel like the most energetic I am is when I wake up. So the first 4 hours, 5 hours when I wake up are the best to just finish any task and take any decision. Okay? So this is something which you should avoid at all costs. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. These are probably the most important things which you should avoid. And hopefully you guys have learned something from this. This was very generic for the hopes of helping anyone who's watching this. So if this has helped you in any way, subscribe. Let me know in the comments as well. And the last thing is we have our Sunday calls, which we do on Discord every week. If you'd like to join them, Q&A, product research, everything's for free and fun, then join the Discord. And if you'd like to join the affiliate team, we have a new brand coming in early April. Also, DM me on Discord. That's it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.